Hey guys, Micah from blackbearcustomkydex. I've got a very quick video for you today on this sheath that I just built for the Tops El Chete. This one is going to a gentleman named Trushar. Trushar has ordered from me one time before, I believe, sent me his kukri and did a fun sheath for that one with some leather lining on the inside. So it was a very cool and unique build. So this thing is pretty straightforward. As you can see, it has a couple of D-rings up top. These are for a baldric sling. He already has a sling, I believe, from the last order we did. So I assume he'll just be hooking up that sling to this sheath when he needs it. He also asked me to make it with an ambidextrous dangler. And pretty much almost all the sheaths I'm doing now, if somebody wants a dangler on it, I almost always do ambidextrous. Sometimes it's not possible, but most of the time it makes a lot of sense to do that. So typically what I do to make that possible is I create some kind of hardware recess over the handle and one or two drill holes there to hook a D-ring adapter up to, and that's what you see here. This black piece of Kydex is a D-ring adapter. Then of course I hook the actual leather loop up to that, and that completes the dangler. So in this case, two mounting points. The reason I decided to go with that instead of a single point is because of the size and weight of the El Chete, combined with the fact that the color choice on this was OD Green Cryptek, which is one of my favorite Kydexes, but unfortunately only comes in 0.080, which is sort of the standard thickness. Now, there's nothing technically wrong with that. There are plenty of things even bigger than this that you would see wrapped in a 0.08 sheath. But the problem I have with 08 is that it just, at this length anyway, it kind of feels maybe a little bit flimsy sometimes. So I usually opt for 093, and more often than not, with the largest of knives, I usually go with something with multiple layers, for myself I mean, or even 0.125, which is the thickest Kydex available. So in this case, this is the color that he requested. I think it all looks really nice, and it also functions very well. Let's go through the other details, and then I'll show you the fit on this thing. So down here we have a Ferro Rod Holder. This is for a 3/8 inch Ferro Rod, and interestingly, he added 4 more of them at the end of the so he'd ordered this, and then toward the time I was getting ready to build this, he asked me if I could add 4 more Ferro Rod loops for the same diameter rod. He didn't know the exact hole spacing for whatever sheath these are going to go on. So what I did was I milled a slot across the face of it. You can see that I did all 5 of these loops at the same time. So you can see instead of drill holes, I actually just milled a long slot, which gives you a really generous range of mounting options, and it should work with just about any sheath you have. If not, I would say the spacing between eyelets on whatever the sheath is you're mounting to is obviously quite large, and it leaves plenty of room to drill a hole so that you'd be able to accommodate these loops. So there you go. Last feature on here really is the retention strap. Now this is what we call a soft loop. This is typically a carry setup, but it also works really well as a retention strap. It is rubber coated nylon, so it's very, very rugged. It should last years and years and years. And it's got a rugged pull-it-out snap installed on it. And that means that it is a one-way fastener, and pressure from inside the loop should not cause this snap to give way. At the same time, you just lift it at the tip and it pops right off. Snapping it back down, you need to roll it toward the tip to get that to close up. Now when that's on there, it's very, very difficult to overcome the retention. You can definitely do it with enough force, but if you look at the location of the strap, the choil on the blade stock here is actually going to hook into that strap if you do somehow manage to get the blade free. So it should still be securely held in there, and I don't believe any part of the cutting edge would be exposed. I could be wrong there, but I don't think that's terribly likely. Either way, it's not really worth torquing your sheath to try to find out. This provides excellent retention. I don't think it's anywhere near a reasonable draw strength to get that to come out. It's way, way, way beyond that. And at the same time, all you have to do is pop that off. And as you can see, it is currently set up for left hand, but it is ambidextrous. Every feature on this is ambidextrous for that matter. And yeah, so once your retention strap is off, this is basically a ballistic draw. You can see it's coming off about halfway, and I've got this horizontal to the ground. So there we go, even further that time. So this is a very nice draw, and especially in the context of in a baldric position, this is going to be super nice to draw out of there. One thing I like to do with the Chete and some of the other knives that have a similar shape to this, even down to, not to make a totally apples and oranges comparison, but like a Bradford Guardian 3, where it's much, much smaller, they do share a very similar feature, which is that they have one, I don't know if you'd call it a choil, but they do have one contour on the bottom of the handle prior to the front of the handle. And this contour is actually the best place to get retention on this particular design, because if you look at the very front of the handle, there's almost nothing. You have just the tiniest little lobe that you could potentially grab onto, and after that it's just blade stock. So what I've done is I include the handle material up past this section here, because it allows for some positive retention, some good register points for the handle to lock in securely, as well as shape this section of the sheath so that there's just a little bit of retention on the blade stock itself. And between the two of these, it creates a very firm, very secure hold. Now with 080 and a knife this heavy, it's not quite enough. So if you look, I'm just gonna give it some jiggles there. There's just nothing you can do about that. It's not enough rigidity to hold the knife in place there. And if you mold the sheath further up onto the handle, you might be able to get that kind of rigidity. The problem is you're then sacrificing your ability to grip and index your knife positively prior to drawing. So that's why I added this retention strap there. So that's a necessity in my opinion. If it were just a dangler, I would say the retention strap is excessive. But in the case where he's going to be carrying this in baldric, it's going to be horizontal, and you open up the possibility much, much higher of having something happen that jostles you and causes your knife to launch forward out of your sheath, exposing it to a lot of potential damage, loss, or cutting you, which is the worst case scenario. So we try to just avoid that with some security measures like a secondary retention strap, which can be removed, Truchar, if you ever decide to. It's just a Phillips head screw. Simple, easy, and quick. Lastly, what I was kind of getting at was because the sheath has to come up past the natural holding position of the knife, I like to kind of create these, I guess you'd call them choils. I create kind of like a double choil on this particular design, and you'll see something very similar if you look at my Guardian 3 sheaths, where it gives your index finger somewhere to rest while you draw, and it results in that index finger falling into place where it's supposed to go. Now, there are certain instances where you have to really be careful, because the sheath has this kind of index point, which is, I think it's a good necessary design, but there's no fat choil, there's no plunge grind, it's just straight into a cutting edge. And in those cases, you really need to be careful. In this case, because it's so large, your finger is not really going to be prone to slip all the way forward there, so you don't have to worry about it. But all in all, I really like this sheath. I really like the design. I like how everything came together, but I also value your opinions. So if you would, comment down below. Let me know what you think of the design, the color choice, retention strap, ambidextrous features, all that good stuff. What do you think of doing a slot in the ferro rods? This is something I'm considering maybe doing more often, because in the event that you have other sheaths that you like to carry, whether they're from me or from somebody else, or a factory sheath even, and you decide, hey, I want to carry that and I want to put a ferro rod loop on it, but I don't have the right hole spacing, well, this would solve that problem for you. So let me know if you guys think that that would be a good idea in general. I'm always open to hear your opinions. You are oftentimes my go-to guidance on what I'm doing next with the business. So please comment down below, get some conversations going, and weigh in with your thoughts. I think that's all I've got for you, but also let me know what you think of the Tops Chete down below. Is it your favorite chopping knife? If not, what would replace it for you and why? All right, guys, that is the end of the video. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stick around for the next one. God bless.